All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Occupy Fantasy YouTube channel. We're here today with some FanDuel Fantasy Baseball, DraftKings MLB DFS picks, and lineup advice for today and tonight's April 20th main slate. FanDuel and DraftKings have different slates today, but we'll run down all the pitchers, stacks, hitters, and lineup strategies that you need to be profitable. Tonight, I'm Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy. Joined today by our MLB DFS Daily Plug writer, Chris Rooney. Chris, what's happening, man?
Brian, coming to you live from this spooky, haunted mental facility with, I got a light on the fritz right now. I don't know if you can see that here on the show. I think you can. It looks like I'm in like a rave or whatever. Getting ready for this baseball party tonight, right? We've got some crazy action on FanDuel and DraftKings. With like literally, well, I think we just had a postponement come down, but still a much larger slate on DraftKings than FanDuel tonight, with the inclusion of the games in that 6:30 to 7 p.m. Eastern window. So different decisions that we have to make depending on what we're playing tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So different games on different slates. And the Daily Plug, which you see on screen here, is written for both the FanDuel and DraftKings main slates today. Different stacks and pitchers and hitters are written up, and some lineup strategies, of course, how to use the lineup builder, and then how to build your low risk and high risk lineups. Before we get started, if you like what we do here, make sure you click that subscribe button below this video. Get notified whenever we go live or upload any new videos to YouTube. Give us a thumbs up if you like it. And also, we might do a little giveaway. So either during the video or after the video is finished, comment on the video. Let us know who you think hits a home run tonight. Not in the live chat, but in the comment section below the video. Let us know who you think is going to hit a home run tonight. All right, Chris. So we see on screen here, if we scroll down, the Daily Plug, Ohtani on the mound tonight, will be pitching, not hitting, but he is on a pitch count of sorts, so we need to keep that in mind if we're considering rostering him, right?
Yeah, so the reports are that he is on a 75 pitch count limit. Now, most of our efficient starting pitchers are going to average around 15 pitches per inning or less, but with a 75 pitch cap, that doesn't give him a lot of room for error, because 75 pitches would be exactly 5 innings if he averaged 15 per inning to get the 5 innings, and obviously get to the minimum to earn those win points if the prognostications are correct tonight with the money line status and whatnot. So obviously, if we're rostering him, he's super affordable on FanDuel and DraftKings. We want that ceiling outcome, so we need him to do that. There are a lot of other places to go that we like tonight. And obviously, we kind of walked through that in the pitching section of the plug, but the options are completely different on DraftKings and FanDuel. On DraftKings, we really like Luis Castillo with the Cincinnati Reds, but that is one of those early window games that's only on DraftKings. So we do not have access to him on FanDuel. On FanDuel, we actually kind of like Chris Paddack with the Padres tonight because he's priced at a nice $6,900 on FanDuel, despite being one of our highest strikeout per innings pitchers in the highest strikeout per innings pitcher in our model tonight at 1.37. So almost, if you're playing single entry, I would say that's your guy. If you're playing MME, I would try to get a healthy exposure to him because it'll allow you to get any types of stack combinations you want in your lineups over there.
Yeah, just incredibly underpriced, at least compared to DraftKings. A lot of times you could look at the two sites to get a feel of who's priced appropriately on which site. And Paddack, yeah, $10K on DraftKings, just $6,900 on FanDuel. And, on FanDuel, the win bonus and the quality start is important. And a lot of people look to the money line as a big determining factor into whether or not they want to roster a pitcher on FanDuel. And they may look at Paddack's minus 118 money line, which isn't overwhelming by any means, and shy away. However, Chris, there aren't that many big favorites on the entire slate tonight. If we go back to the Daily Plug and we look, we normally write the biggest favorites of minus 150 or higher at the top of the betting markets section. And it's just one tonight. It's just Ohtani, and he probably won't even go long enough to get the win. So everyone's in that same boat tonight. A lot of coin flip matchups around the league.
Yeah, exactly. Things have shifted a little bit, it looks like. It looks like Ohtani's up to minus 215. And Castillo is actually just over that limit. He's at minus 152. But your point still stands. There's just not a lot of consensus in markets today about who is the best arms to back. So that actually gives us a lot of wiggle room in high risk. And now you and I were chatting before we went live here, waiting for our model to populate with some of our ownership projections from our source that gets that for us, because really interested to see what we think the field is actually going to do with this information tonight. Now, using our model, it should come as no surprise to you, Brian, but maybe our viewers don't know this. We're probably going to stick to the top pitchers here. We're not going to try to really kind of go outside of that and get super creative outside of that. We #trust the model here. It's why we sell merchandise that says that. So we're looking at Shohei Ohtani, Luis Castillo, Taijuan Walker, Chris Paddock, Corbin Burns. And I guess if you're on FanDuel, you have to probably go a little lower than that. But that's probably about all we're using in our player pools for pitcher today. At least for me, I build 20 lineups on DraftKings, 150 on FanDuel when I play over there. I still try to keep my allocations to only about 4 or 5 pitchers total on both sites.
Yeah,
so and that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, and to be honest, a lot of people ask, they want the confirmation that we, the writers, and I, the founder of Occupy Fantasy, use this information, and I exclusively use pitchers at the top of the model. Pitching is way more predictable. Our pitching Occupy model projections have been spot on through the first 3 weeks of the season, and I'm going to be using these guys too. I'll probably cross out Ohtani from my usage just because of the pitch count, but Castillo, Walker, Paddock, Gallen, and Burns, those guys at the top, is who I will be using. And Chris, we've talked about this in the Discord a little while, the last couple of days, which, by the way, if you're watching this and you're not a member, you can click the join button. Right below the video, it says join. You get access to our Discord channel by becoming a YouTube channel member. Just $2.99 a month. Click that and you can chat with us and other members about other daily fantasy sports. So, Chris, we talked about how much easier it is to predict pitching performance. I mean, we just have such a larger sample to predict, not only to draw from, but in that individual game to project as well compared to hitters.
Yeah, want to actually give a shout out to, I believe it's JFlow in the Discord. Actually started this conversation and actually kind of sent us back to the grind, if you will, to kind of relook at our data and see if we can come up with some new information to help all you folks. The question that he asked us a couple nights ago in the Discord in our MLB channel was, does the model get stronger as the season goes on? Seems like the top stack fails more than it hits. Now, we are talking about a sport where, on average, your best players, your very best hitters, still fail more often than they actually succeed at the plate. So that's the baseline you need to operate from when you're thinking about MLB DFS lineups. I think we did add, I know we did add a little bit of a chart into the Daily Plug showing some of the correlations between some of the metrics in our model and hitter performance. That's been in the Daily Plug for the last couple of days now. And if you've read that, if you've got access to the subscriber-only section of the Daily Plug, you'll see that, honestly, across the board, the correlation between all of the metrics is pretty low. And that's just because baseball batters are very, very hard to nail down at the player level. We feel pretty confident when we give you, team-level prognostications. Like tonight, we have the Los Angeles Angels as one of our top options as a lineup to use hitters from tonight. We feel pretty good about that. We feel less good about telling you that Luis Rengifo is going to get 10 fantasy points. That's just way harder to predict, right? So that's kind of the basis of where I'm operating from. I know that's where you're operating from. We try to use a consensus of information to make the best decisions. And so I see you've pulled it up here. When our stacks dashboard shows us a team like the Angels, who are available on both FanDuel and DraftKings tonight, when they rank third by OF Index, which is our proprietary metric ranking all players on the slate, which synthesizes the data from all sorts of different data points, whatever jargon you want to use. That's what that metric is. That's pretty high ranking there. Isolated power, they are the second best team on this slate. Weighted on base average, they are the second best team on this slate. And implied team total. So their implied team total in betting markets, I believe our partner is Sugar House. If I am incorrect on that, I apologize to our partner. Second there as well. That's the type of consensus that we like to see when trying to identify a team that might be, quote unquote, the safest team to build around tonight. So if you're a single entry player, if you're looking for one team to stack, on FanDuel to use 4 hitters from to build around, on DraftKings you can use up to 5. Personally, Brian, I think the Angels are the best place to go tonight.
Yeah, I think so too. You see that consensus across the board. And, some of the other top stacks, may cause some heartburn for some people. We see Miami near the top. They put up a very poor performance the other night, is the top stack in the model. But really, what it comes down to is this is a high risk sport. And like in any other daily fantasy sport, a lot of the high owned the ownership gets concentrated, and a lot of the better projected plays suck up all the ownership, and then all the lower owned plays are actually lower owned than their actual probability of hitting. So when we see stacks at 2 to 5% ownership, when in reality they probably have a 10 to 20% chance of hitting, at least according to our model, that's massive leverage over the course of a season. Now, in a vacuum, that's still only a 20% chance that they hit tonight. Not a great, but if you're looking at this from a long-term angle, and again, I posted this in our Discord channel, MLB is a super high-risk sport, and if you follow our strategies, you follow our model, you're going to be profitable over the course of the season. You just have to practice proper bankroll management, using stacks like Miami repeatedly, using stacks at the top of the model that have lower team totals and lower ownership. When they hit, you have less resistance against the field, Chris, and it's much easier to get to the top of the leaderboard. So, all right, let's see. We got some comments and questions in the chat. We got T Nasty, what's up, man? Ken's in the chat. Totally not the FBI, aka Athlete Ed. Said, what's up, guys? Been a while. Glad to have you back, Ed. He's asking, are we not on Twitch anymore? Just wondering if he can cancel a subscription over there. Yeah, what you can do to get access to the Discord again, if you're just joining this, Ed, just click the join button below here on YouTube. All of our streams are now housed here on YouTube. We're going live 3 to 5 times per week. You can always click on our channel page to see the upcoming schedule. But again, we try to do it Tuesdays through Wednesdays, and of course on Saturdays for UFC. Carl in the chat, your favorite viewer, Chris, says, I guarantee this guy has a Red Sox or a Yankees hat on. You gonna prove him right?
Before we actually go down that road, I want to know from Carl what he thinks it is. I want to know if he thinks it's a Red Sox or a Yankees hat. I want him to tell us.
Carl, let us know, man. What do you think? You think Chris is a Yankees guy or a Red Sox guy? Either way, he's insufferable. I understand.
And absolutely my favorite viewer on YouTube that we have here, Carl. Happy to have you. I believe he wants to know what animal you have behind you in your room there. Looks like a bull. Is that what that is?
So this is a Christmas gift from Moose, who's now on the stream right now. He couldn't find a goat picture, which I think Carl was alluding to in the chat. It's actually a yak.
So, okay, it's a yak.
Yeah,
love that.
The low-owned yak photo in the office. So let's see here. All right, what else we got? So no other questions in the chat. If you guys have questions, let us know. We'll be here till 5:45 p.m. Eastern, answering your questions, talking about MLB, DFS, FanDuel, DraftKings, picks, lineup advice, strategies, and tips. All right, so we talked about the pitchers that we like. We talked about some of these stacks. Let's hit on Miami really quickly, Chris, because you did write them up in the plug. And what's nice to me, what I always like to see when we have a lower owned stack at the top of the model, if we get some sort of betting market agreement with us, that always makes me feel a little more comfortable in rostering them. And as of 5:15 Eastern, the Marlins did see a slight bump up in their team total in the betting markets, which means it's not just us. Someone else sees that there is some sort of value tonight. So looking at Miami's bats, who are you looking at, and how are you planning on stacking them, if you are?
Yeah, so we're seeing about 4.5 runs is what we think they'll score tonight in betting markets, and that has gone up by 0.12 of a run. So a little bit of a small move, not a huge move. And our model seems to think that the best place for us to start is the same man who saved a lot of DFS lineups a few slates ago with a couple of home runs in one game. It's Adam Duvall out of the cleanup spot, batting fourth, has a 9.5 OF index tonight. Project him for a pretty gaudy 391 isolated slugging. So your isolated slugging is, for anybody who's not familiar with this metric, it's basically slugging percentage minus batting average, and it's meant to isolate the upside for strictly power. So what we're looking for are fantasy points, and fantasy points largely come from home runs. So we want the hitters that have the best upside for hitting home runs. So that's what that number tells you. If you didn't know that before, now you do. Adam Duvall seems to have the best chance on the Marlins of hitting one out of the park tonight, according to us. We also like Corey Dickerson at outfield behind him, so a pair of Marlins outfielders to start with. And you can round out Marlins builds by going down to the pretty popular Jazz Chisholm. I've noticed he's been pretty highly owned the last few slates with this team. And Brian Anderson at third base. Those guys stand out with OF index scores above 7.5. That's usually pretty strong for hitters on any given slate. Even a guy like Aguilar at first base at a 6.4, that's a really strong score. But, don't shy away from these guys at the bottom of the order. Looking at Lewis Brinson, I know he's hitting 8th. I know his OF index score is only a 4.2. Probably going to be low owned. He is in the lineup, and that's largely what our stacks dashboard is forecasting. It's showing that we like the team as a whole, and sometimes what happens is the guys at the bottom of the model here, they run into one, they get a home run of their own, or they're on base when some of these other guys find success and they score a bunch of fantasy points that way. So, don't exclusively just take the top 4 or 5 hitters in the lineup in our model. Make sure that you're kind of thinking about working in some of these lower owned guys as well, especially if the batting order correlates. We like to make sure these guys are hitting near each other.
Yeah, so that's the thing. If their batting order correlates, and how I like to look at it is, how does the secondary stack fit in? If you're looking at other stacks in the dashboard that pair well with the Marlins, maybe you have to drop to Brinson in your 5-man Miami stack or your 4-man Miami stack to fit in a better correlated secondary stack. So just keep that in mind. And speaking of Jazz, if you scroll all the way to the right of the Occupy model, you see the StatCast data, exit velocity, batted ball distance. This is based over the last 2 weeks. Balls put in play by batters using MLB StatCast data. How hard have they been hitting it? This is their ranking for the entire league. How far have they been hitting it? And Jazz has hit the 5th farthest distant over the last 2 weeks on his balls in play. 54th hardest exit velocity. Adam Duvall in the top 50 of both metrics as well. And a lot of times, many times this correlates with fantasy points, but in the instances where we see a guy who hasn't been putting up fantasy points, but has been hitting the ball hard and far, generally means they're undervalued and due for a breakout game. All right, let's see. We got some more questions and comments in the chat. Chris Carl says, no doubt Yankees, although he wouldn't be surprised by Red Sox. So what is it?
So he's, exactly. I want you to make a pick. So I think his pick is Yankees, but we want him to lock that in before we reveal the truth here. Absolutely. Okay, so QA here, right? When it comes to reverse line movement, should we weigh that a little higher because the smart money are on a team that wasn't favored publicly? It's a great question. I don't know if you have any specific thoughts on that.
I'll use it as a tiebreaker. And again, it's not a guaranteed source of sharp money. Generally, that's what it means. Just as us as outsiders looking at it. If you want the sports books view, go back and listen to some of our podcasts with Jeff Sherman of the Superbook. Those are golf episodes, but it gets you into the mindset of how sportsbook operators and odds makers think about things when balancing money and looking at action. So yeah, the perfect world, we see a stack at the top of the stack dashboard. Their reverse line movement check mark is there. Team totals moving up. Generally means they're going to be low owned and our model likes them and sharp money likes them as well. Realistically, Chris, what the reverse line movement check mark means is the team is probably going to be unpopular, but there is some sort of reason to bet them in the betting markets or to play them as a stack or a pitcher. If you get them at the top of the model, even better.
Yeah, and oftentimes that reverse line movement, to your point, will be a result of maybe the favored team's starting lineup didn't come in as anticipated, and so now people think that there's a slightly better chance that the underdog wins tonight, and so that sort of all plays into that. Those are the complex things that sort of kind of make these decisions for us. Still don't have any ownership data just yet. I did just refresh that for you all. Maybe, hoping to break that on the show here. We've got about 10 minutes left, but as soon as we see that, we will make sure that the daily plug at occupyfantasy.com is updated. Obviously, the model will be updated, and we'll let all of you know that our Discord subscribers, that projected ownership is in as soon as it is live. Just looking at that myself, wanted to share that. Brian, obviously, with the different slates on FanDuel and DraftKings, I know we talked about the Angels, talked about the Marlins a little bit, but the Marlins are an only DraftKings option tonight. So where are we going on FanDuel? Obviously, we can't just use the Angels. We need at least 2 stacks for one lineup. In our plug, I can tell you we wrote up the Houston Astros and the New York Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals as our favorite FanDuel stacks other than the Angels tonight. So obviously that's what jumped out to me here. I think the Astros, even though it is a core slate without much of an adjustment for hitters because it's super freaking cold there tonight, I guess. They still kind of stand out because every other team in our kind of weather forecast, if you will, has a negative adjustment. So I think the Astros are where I would try to go here on FanDuel. I'm not sure if you've looked at it any more than I have.
Yeah, so I pulled up a couple of things here in the model on screen here while you're talking. And if you look at the top, I use the slate filter to filter out just the FanDuel main. Obviously, the Angels lead the pack. Houston right behind them. But what is interesting to me are these next group of teams: St. Louis, the Mets, and the Nats. Now, St. Louis obviously popped off last night. It feels wrong to use them again tonight after such a big performance last night. I don't think they'll be as owned as they should be. But what I see here is a couple of things to point out, Chris. Both the Nats and the Cardinals, that game total's gone up a full run. So the Cardinals team totals increased a half run. The Nats team totals increased roughly a half run. And if you go back over to the pitching dashboard, and there are a couple ways to use the StatCast data columns at the end for pitchers. One is to find pitchers who haven't been getting hit hard or far. But if you look at these group of four guys, these group of three guys, Patrick Corbin, Jordan Lyles, Jake Arrieta. Obviously, if anyone played Patrick Corbin, they could easily tell you with their eyes that he was getting hit hard and far in his last start. But the StatCast data obviously tells the same story. Corbin, Lyles, and Arrieta facing the Cardinals, the Angels, and the Mets, all rank in the bottom 100 of hard hit balls against them, balls hit far against them. Great combination. And when we see team total movements and we see model justification behind them, I always love targeting those stacks. And if we can find guys in the hitter dashboard that have been hitting the ball hard and far lately as well, everything lines up perfectly. We actually saw that yesterday with Jose Marmelos.
With the Mariners there. I know who you're talking about. Marmelejos, I think.
Yeah.
We'll get that corrected for the next show because I'm sure we'll be talking about Jose some more. He's having a nice season so far. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is how we monitor things that change, on the fly, because this is, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, a rolling sample that evaluates recent performance, recent batted ball data for pitchers and hitters. Talking is nothing tonight, apparently. So credit to me. I'm going to give myself a certificate for that. Something else I noticed while you were playing with this pitcher data here for everybody on the show. We weren't talking about him specifically, but looking at that exit velocity data for Taijuan Walker with the New York Mets, I mean, kind of gives you a little bit of insight into why he's probably ranking so highly for us right now. He's just not giving up hard contact. He's got, the lowest exit velocity on average out of all these pitchers on this slate tonight in whatever that sample period is. So that's certainly got to be an encouraging sign if you're looking for an affordable pitching option that isn't some of the guys we've already talked about at length here tonight.
And pitching in an environment where he gets a 15% weather boost. So cold weather hasn't been allowing hard contact. Chris, just lock it in now. He's going to give up 4 home runs just because nothing makes sense in baseball.
Yeah, it's a lot. Everything that we think makes sense doesn't make sense anymore. So definitely true. That's the rut that we're in right now with this model. So not with the pitchers, though. The pitching projections have been pretty good. We've just had a pretty fun time the last few days for those who've been playing along with us trying to get the Marlins or the San Francisco Giants right. But tonight could be the night, so don't miss out.
It's Marlins night tonight. All right, guys, we got about 7 minutes left here. Just if you're watching this now, you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, make sure you click that subscribe button below the video. That gets you subscribed to our channel, lets you know whenever we go live to break down slates before they start, or if we upload any new videos. We go live 3 to 4 times per week, usually during the midweek for either NBA or MLB. We normally do a live golf stream Wednesday nights, and then big UFC event this weekend. I know a lot of you have tickets. We'll be going live on Saturday as well. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Just click that little thumbs up. It always helps us out, lets us know that you enjoy the content that we're making. And we talked about it earlier. Comment on the video below, not in the live chat, but comment below on who you think is going to hit a home run tonight. We always like hearing your opinions, so comment below the video. So, Chris, we got five minutes left here. Any? Actually, I'm gonna toss it to you. Who do you think is going to hit a home run tonight? Who are some of your home run picks?
Sure. I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to tell everybody the secret sauce behind the model and how I do this. First and foremost, this is actually a good segue, good opportunity to mention for those of you that are trying to grow a bankroll and want to do that for free. One of the best contests that's available throughout the baseball season, at least right now, on FanDuel, is their free home run challenge every night. There's no salary cap. You just roster 3 hitters that you think have best chance to hit home runs tonight. If your lineup combines for at least 3 home runs, you split the prize pool with everybody else that enters the contest that meets that score. It's not a ton of money, but not often, not every night does this happen. Like there's not usually a large pool of players that select the right hitters. So you can actually start to grow your bankroll pretty quickly if you were just starting out, if you get this right 1 or 2 times throughout the season. So you should definitely play that every single night. Brian, what I do is I go to our hitter model and I sort by isolated power, high to low. Tonight, it looks like our best hitters for that are Mike Trout with the Los Angeles Angels. No surprise, best hitter in baseball. Jock Peterson with the Chicago Cubs. If you're playing on DraftKings, Adam Duvall. He's not available on FanDuel tonight. A little bit of a stack here with the Angels. If you want to play that FanDuel contest, you can go with Mike Trout and Jared Walsh, who are hitting back-to-back in the batting order. So that's some nice correlation as well. But, this is how I look at that. And obviously at the team level, when you're, if you decide, if you're playing DFS tonight and you want to stack the Atlanta Braves, which are, one of our upper level stacks that we forecast in the model for DraftKings tonight. You can actually go to our team drop down menu here. You can select Atlanta. And if you want to roster the players that you think have the highest probability of hitting home runs, you can sort this model by isolated power, and it'll show you that your best options are Freddie Freeman, Pablo Sandoval, Marcell Ozuna, et cetera, et cetera. You can see that on the screen here. So that's just a little bit of insight into some other ways that at least I use the model to make some decisions on how to, make home run calls like this, or make some lineup decisions to break some ties between some guys if I'm working on hand building a couple of teams. So on a scale of 1 to 4.2 tonight, though, Brian, I am at 6.9 on the home run scale with Mike Trout. He's going yard.
I love it. I love it. And, Chris, you mentioned stacking in that home run contest. And people may think, what's the point of stacking in a home run contest? It's not correlation. You're just trying to hit as many home runs. But there's a big reason why we stack in MLB as well. Obviously, you get the correlation points, right? That's big in MLB. But kind of the larger picture here is you've identified a higher level reason to stack a team. And again, it's one of those concepts of minimizing the number of things you need to get right. Either you found a terrible opposing pitcher, a pitcher that's been allowing hard contact recently, a team that's playing in beautiful hitting weather, the wind's blowing out, a team that has seen their team total move upwards in the betting markets, whatever it may be. You've identified a great spot. So for the home run derby or home run contest on FanDuel, maybe you've identified the Angels are in a good hitting spot. So why not take a couple other hitters and benefit and hope that if that's correct, you've got 2 of the guys that could potentially hit home runs. So let me see. We got a couple questions in the chat. QA says, so for EV and distance, the higher the better for pitchers and the lower the better for batters. That is correct. I know it might be a little counterintuitive, but it is a ranking, and it's based on the exit velocity and batted ball distance. So if you see someone with a number 1 next to their name, it means they've either hit the ball the hardest or they've allowed the hardest hit balls against them. So correct in your thinking there, QA. Totally not the FBI, who was a Nats fan, said he's going to need a national stack sooner rather than later. Please and thank you. So
I actually, Brian, on that point, if you're looking for a secondary stack, this is why looking at the model a little closer is worth doing. We have 3 hitters in the Nationals that look like they have high upside in particular. The top 3 hitters in the Nationals tonight are Juan Soto, Josh Bell, Kyle Schwarber. Those are your 2, 3, 4 hitters in the model. All have OF index scores of 8.6 or higher. I wouldn't be against doing that. Not a primary stack because we only like 3 hitters, exponentially more than the rest in the lineup. But if you'd like to mini stack your Nationals tonight, it's actually not the worst idea.
Yeah, and actually they're a great secondary stack. And what's nice is a couple of our top stacks, like the Marlins, like the Braves, like the Angels, almost all of their hitters rank favorably. So what you could do is you could plug in these 3 Washington hitters into your lineup first, and then fitting the best 5 remaining stack players from your favorite stack team. And just because all of them project favorably, you don't have to make a decision one way or the other. Let your secondary stack determine who your primary stack is composed of. So, all right, I think that'll do it for the show. We're at 5:45. We've been here for 30 minutes. You can always follow us on Twitter at OccupyFantasy. You can follow Chris and his plethora of dad jokes and other great content on Twitter at CDR02989. You can follow me at Brian Jester FF. Everything you see on screen here today is at OccupyFantasy.com. Memberships as low as $7 per week. I guess less if you get the yearly membership. Get access to our daily plug for all sports, highlights the best plays and lineup strategies, bankroll and contest selections for each slate. Our Occupy models, which rank every player, every stack, every slate, and get access to our lineup builder as well. Build up to 150 lineups using the optimal lineup criteria. So go check it out, OccupyFantasy.com. And a final reminder for you to click that subscribe button, get notified when we go live right below this video. Give us a thumbs up, show your support. And again, maybe we'll give away something. So comment below the video who you think is going to hit a home run tonight. So Chris, I'll throw it back to you for any final thoughts on the slate.
Boston born and raised, it was never going to be a Yankee hat, Carl. Sorry. You're still my favorite viewer, even if I'm not your favorite host. Have a great night, everyone, and good luck. Let's get some money tonight.
Good luck.